Ladies and gentlemen, a very happy Victory Monday. The Buffalo Bills improved to 8-4. And lo and behold, Kev, a tale of two halves. When you take what the defense gives you, you run the football, you win the game. All right? You win the damn game. It's a rough day for some of the defectors of the Joe Brady camp. Kev, how you doing, man? Talk to me.
Couldn't be better, man. You win by 20. You go on the road. You basically have them wanting to fire their coach, chanting, booing during Renegade, breaking running records, making that AFC North 500 or worse. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty good when Joe Brady is 9-1 calling Bills games in December and January going forward.
I know.
And we've talked about Josh Allen's record in December and January, so can't do nothing but be happy. I tweeted earlier today the Bills have 8.3 wins on average at this point of the year through the Sean McDermott and Josh Allen tenure. They have 8. So slightly below only because of how well New England's playing. Other than that, man, this is quite frankly where they always are.
Yeah, no, exactly. Not a lot has changed, right? I'm really hoping that we can go on a run. History suggests that we do. Seems like that we finally started dialing up some of those designed runs for Josh Allen, which I think that really takes this offense to the next level. But the one thing, Kev, and I've been going crazy with strategizing all week, is this defense, dude. This run defense was the best that I have seen in quite some damn time. When running out of base coverage, Kev, we were allowing them 0.5 yards per carry, which is making my mind go insane, right? And maybe this is too much, and feel free to lambaste me if we're not on the same page here. But why? Why am I trying to stop myself from saying that Terrell Bernard should receive the Taylor Rapp treatment, and you roll throughout the remainder of the season with the hot hand in Shaq Thompson, dial up base coverages, since the secondary is obviously outperforming. Very good secondary. No one's talking about it. It's vintage Sean McDermott defense. Question marks in the pass rush due to injury. Great secondary. What is stopping us from doing that? And what else went into a very dominant defensive performance against the run last night, in your perspective?
I think they rallied to the ball, man. They had a good game plan. They went base. They didn't. I mean, you had basically what you had was corners on an island. The Bills thought DK Metcalf got shut out by Christian Benford, and they said,
I know,
we're going to ride what we feel to be our healthy CB1, which is top 10 in the league. We're going to ride him to a run defense game. And the Bills showed up, no missed tackles. You had Shaq Thompson flying to the ball. What an asset he's been. We talk about how bad Brandon Beane has been this year, specifically whether you want to talk about last year's draft or free agency. He's been a revelation at his dollar amount this season. And I want him to bring him back, and he's been a really good football player here. He's fit in well. Do they soft bench Terrell Bernard? I don't know. You can do that to your captain.
I know.
That's a tough one. I mean, you still are calling up Banglen Spector from the practice squad, so he does help you being on this roster. Maybe give him a limited plays, maybe give him coverage plays. He's still really strong in coverage. He doesn't have to really rely too much on it. So he was starting to play better prior to the the elbow injury. I thought he played a really good game. So I think you still roll with him. But yeah, you can't take Shaq Thompson off the field right now. So the Bills were able to totally. They had a good defensive game plan all game. The only 7 points they scored were off turnover, or off the James Cook fumble. Other than that, the defense was amazing. So they played a full defensive game plan for the first time in a while. But more importantly, half of an offensive game and a full defensive game, which really the defense sack, fumble, touchdown, interception, and then the offense got going. The defense really was that good, and they're going to need it going into Cincy.
So the way that I look at it too, right? Like you often hear people talk about it's hard for us to go into base because it's hard to justify taking Taron Johnson off of the field. Well, I feel like that's what the formula needs to be right now. Like right now, I guess in 2025, and I'm not even sure if Sumer Brain has all the stuff from week 13 yet, but Buffalo has been running out of base 21% of the time. And that's an uptick from last year. Still operating out of nickel at 59. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I like our DBs in man coverage. I do. I think that they can get the job done operating out of base. And for some reason, I just feel like dialing that up even more as you're getting into football weather because teams are still going to try and test the run against us. One game against Pittsburgh is not going to change what people perceive the Buffalo Bills defense to be. I'm almost wondering if Sean McDermott's going to the table right now and he goes, look, I need to step away from what I have been known to run. And I think we might need to have a slight identity shift now that December and playoff football is around the corner.
Yeah, and you know who played the most snaps on the Bills or some of the most snaps on the Bills yesterday was Jackson Hawes with 52 snaps.
Dude, the Hawes.
So what a draft choice he's been for this roster. One of the best run blocking, pass blocking, offensive or tight ends in the NFL. Like he's just been that good. 40 run blocks. Now he's an offensive lineman out there. 40 snaps. I mean, he has some pass chops. I mean, what an addition he's been. But yeah, Dan, I don't expect somebody to totally change their mindset when it comes to attacking the Bills defense. And I think teams will get cocky though. That's maybe Mike Vrabel in a couple of weeks will say, you know what, our success is to run the ball. I mean, they're missing offensive linemen too now. We'll see if they have the depth that the Bills have. So we'll see how that looks tonight. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to does Cincinnati go in there thinking we're going to beat the Bills with Chase Brown? Is that going to be with their receivers ball? Higgins is still in concussion protocol, but I would anticipate he plays. Are they going to go in with a run-heavy game plan in Buffalo? They could.
Yeah.
I we'll see if that's how they feel like they're going to win this game and see if that's how they're going to target this team. And the Bills will take it. If Chase Brown's going to take the ball for 30 times, they'll sign off on that.
Yeah. Yeah, 110%, man. A must-win for the Bills coming up this Sunday. And don't sleep on Jackson Dart pulling off a miracle this evening. We're going to get to that later, right, as we wrap up this episode. But I did kind of want to transition over to the offense because as far as X is concerned, this place has been a very toxic place. It's been a very toxic place of trying to identify exactly what is wrong with the offense, right? And no matter what you put in front of people, whether or not that you show that there's a trend, 3+ turnovers from your offense equals a loss for the Buffalo Bills. It's been the case for every loss all year. People still continue to say that it's Joe Brady. He's predictable. And Kev, what I always like to tell people is maybe you can make a case that an offense is predictable, but at the exact same time, like you need the horses to execute it on the defensive side of the football. You're not going to be running across many defenses, even if they knew what was coming 9 times out of 10, that you can actually stop it from a personnel standpoint. And a perfect example from that last night was the Pittsburgh Steelers. We heard TJ Watt said, look, I knew that they were ripping duos all night. I knew it. We just couldn't stop it. And that's why I don't really buy into that whole lazy ass take that it's predictable and it's a Brady problem when we're ultimately in line with everything that we were in 2024. And the only difference is turnover differential. And then I get people saying, oh, watch film. You watch people watch film. You don't watch film. All right. Like you watch podcasters watch it. Okay. And then you end up coming away with only 9 specific cherry pick plays from that specific YouTube video, knowing it's only 15% of the overall game. And you're not able to really draw conclusions from such a small sample size. That's what I'm seeing based off of this discourse online. But thoughts on the Joe Brady conversation, how you thought he did yesterday, and your confidence level moving.
How can you ever, like, I've seen some, like, really the doomers, the negative accounts that have really been going at, great to run the ball, but it wasn't good, and you can't say that an offensive coordinator did much, and I don't understand that take at all. Like, how do you sit there and break records on an opponent's field and claim the offensive coordinator didn't call a good game after your team had thrown a weak interception? You were crushing the time of possession. James Cook kicked one off his knee. Like that's the offensive coordinator's fault, is that the top 3 running back in the NFL decides to boot one? Like, yeah. I don't know. That's like blaming a baseball manager when Aaron Judge drops a fly ball to right field. That's a routine fly ball. Like, it's just not, you can't just sit here and blame coaching every single second, especially when you win by 20. So it's a premier game plan. You had backup tackles. By all methods. Here's the thing that's tough. Here's a tough part of the analytics. Put up some stats now and we can share them. I think we have on the show before that Joe Brady is top of the league in personnel diversification, in EPA per scripted play, in EPA per non-scripted play, and efficiency. So at some point it's like, I think you can say like, I don't like the receivers or I don't like the way he uses receivers. But in terms of efficiency and how he's fooling defenses and the personnel sets he runs, it's tough to sit here and fully blame him for the problems when you won an MVP with this quarterback and, in my opinion, a worse offensive roster than you have with a full strength Dalton Kincaid coming up this week, hopefully. And to me, like, what should be a better receiving core,
Absolutely,
just by name base only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when we end up going into the rest of the season, I'm very confident now that, of course, Josh Allen is being implemented into the design run side of things. I think we're going to be happy based off of a lot of the matchups that we have. I'm feeling that Patriots game, man. I'm feeling very confident about these next couple of three. I'm just not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I like how we match up against Cincinnati at home, especially. I like the second matchup against New England. And the division's not completely out of the question in my eyes. We'll see what happens if the New York Giants are able to pull off a miracle with the entire left side of the New England Patriots offensive line missing tonight. We'll see how that plays out. But I don't know. It's just wildly frustrating when it comes into it. What were your thoughts on Cooks? Quiet game, obviously. And so I didn't particularly think that he was going to be opening up the playbook last night. He had it for, like 3 days. He had a very similar, maybe even quieter debut than Amari Cooper did in 2024. Is he going to be dialed up a bit more as the season rolls along in your eyes?
Yeah, like 100%. He got the first throw from him. I mean, he's definitely, when needed, going to perform, especially after getting some time with the playbook, as you mentioned. Like, he was already making separation. Like, to me, I think it's a no-brainer that Cooks is going to be part of this offense with Gabe Davis. It just wasn't what the game plan called for yesterday, with 20-plus mile-an-hour winds and 30-mile-an-hour gusts.
Yeah.
And having a clear advantage. You didn't just out of a hat say, you know what, I think we're possibly maybe going to run the ball. They clearly knew what they were going to do in this game. And they clearly had a game plan set for, okay, we have backup offensive linemen and we don't want to stress like we did 5 best on best again, like we did against Houston. We're going to change the game plan, which is what people wanted. And they ran the ball 50 times. So the game's maybe dictated differently against Cincinnati, but by all accounts, that could be a snow game. Now, I know that Bengals beat the Bills in the playoffs in a snow game. Well, you're talking about Forverts, Ken Dorsey. You're talking about the other side of
Forverts, Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, you're talking about the other side of Joe Brady. That the difference here is that maybe Forverts works in certain games, not against the Bengals in the snow. So
yeah,
the Bills are built for these kind of games now. This is where we need to see. This is why Brady is 9-1 in December and January. His offense just works better on an advantage for him. That's not Ken Dorsey was kind of flipped, where it worked better in extreme and optimal conditions. Now, maybe you don't get the best version of the Bills when everything's neutral, there's no injuries, everything's clean. Like, maybe that's not, but the Bills built a team to win in these type of environments because they've been coming up short in January. So in my opinion, I like this rushing offense. I like what they're able to do. Generally, this offense does limit turnovers. It hasn't been true lately because they've had some awful fumble luck. But ultimately, Josh is going to start to reduce those turnovers. And Dan, I'm feeling pretty good about a team that's number 1 in the league in rushing. That's ultimately how I feel. Whether the good news is you can run duo, they know it's coming, and you're still successful.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just don't turn the ball over like you did in Houston, and you win that game too. If you don't turn the ball over in that game, you win that football game. Period.
Yeah. It's that simple, folks. It is a recipe.
That simple.
You take care of the football, make Josh take what the defense gives to him, and beautiful things happen within this offense. That is really all it ever boils down to. I feel like we need to take a moment and celebrate Aaron Cromer, right? What a response. What a response, while also having 2 tackles, 2 Pro Bowl tackles on both sides being out with respective injuries, and bouncing back from an 8-sack game. Not a single sack on Josh Allen all night. And if I read it correctly, I think we limited them to like 2 pressures in total. And that's with TJ Watt on the team. That's with Cam Hayward throwing a hissy fit for half of the game on the defensive line as well. But with this offensive line just worked. Now, granted, And so, so they were making sure that they did have some help and obviously utilizing a lot of tight ends. But thoughts on this offensive line?
Dude, amazing. Like the only time this offensive line has been bad, it was against the second half of Houston, and it was because you had a concussed player who didn't report symptoms and or didn't have them yet, and Spencer Brown with no arms. So outside of that circumstance and Josh not playing great in those settings and not breaking, not being able to contain his pressure and pressure to sack ratios we've talked about, other than that, the Bills have the best offensive line in football. They're number 2 in pass block win rate, number 2 in run block win rate. I mean, by all metrics, they are the number 1 offensive line in the league, number 1 rushing offense. Like at some point, these two dudes, Alec Anderson hadn't played right tackle since college. And this is what he was able to do against what I was told they were going to feast with Highsmith back. They were going to feast with TJ Watt, who got 1 pressure or maybe 1 hurry, which is a pressure. And that was it all game. So at some point, like, as bad as the backup or the starting tackles looked injured, maybe the Bills should have gone to a different plan, but they didn't have enough time on the fly to say, let me play my 6th offensive lineman at right tackle, a position he hasn't played in the pros. Let me do that off the bat. They had to take some time to adjust to it. And quite frankly, they didn't miss a beat. They didn't miss a beat. That offensive line played super good. It is such a good offensive line. And to have that kind of depth and still have like Chase Lunt and Van Pran Granger and Tylen Grable, who they were trying to stash, dude, what an offensive line. They may be able to trade from it to get some assets this season, next season.
And so I'm kind of curious of what it's going to look like against Cincinnati next week. So I think it should be assumed that Dawkins should be good, right? I mean,
he's still in concussion protocol, McDermott has said, but I would, just like Higgins, I would assume both of those 2 play. But concussions are weird.
Spencer Brown is a different conversation, right? We still don't know if he's like an IR candidate, how serious his injury is. But again, with Alec Anderson, like, he's doing his thing. Something I've also been kind of wondering, man, like, we finally saw like a Josh designed run type game. Do you think that we kind of held that in due to his age? And we were saying, hey, you know what? Like, this is still part of the arsenal, and we're just going to have to dial it up based off of like desperation because they were trying to get things going? Or was it more so of, hey, he's about to be 30. Let's kind of keep this back right until it starts to get into meaningful football? Like, why now? Like, where I know a lot of Bills fans were wanting this to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think Bills fans are thinking when they were saying they wanted this to happen? Like, what is their mindset in your opinion? Like, what's going on? Like, why are they saying that?
Me putting myself in their shoes, and the 90% is that wide receivers aren't getting open. So might as well go on ahead and sort of allow defensive coordinators to put that rate into consideration so that it opens up everything else.
Right. So if you really look at it from a practical, like, back to kind of how we opened the show, right? Like, we want to, I guess, rationalize or figure out what we think looks different on the eye test. And it always goes back to the receiver separation. And if it's not that, we're probably blaming Brady for something.
I know. Always some.
It's 1 or 2. And then, like, maybe occasionally mention, Josh didn't play great, but it's always Josh didn't play great, but it's always Josh didn't play great, but Joe Brady sucks, or Josh didn't play great, or no one's open. The offensive line. I've heard more the offensive line stinks. That is just not based in reality. It's just not based in reality.
It's dumb.
The Bills have the number 1 offensive line, 1 or 2 in every single metric. I'm not sure what to say. If you think this offensive line is bad, dude, I don't have anything for you. I really don't. Like, I'm not sure where to go from there in that debate. So if you're asking, why are people obsessed with the receiver separation? We've had separation receivers before that have amounted in the Ken Dorsey offense. We now have yak and rack guys, and it's frustrating sometimes, but we would rather have Khalil Shakir with plus blockers in his hands and then try to scheme something deep and make it look a little bit more like the Houston game. Yeah. So I think that's the give and take there, Dan.
And so it's always the grass is always greener on the other side.
Every time.
Because we, at a very long time back in the Diggs days, we were pissed off because we could generate 0 yards after the catch.
0. Last in the league.
People were just like, where's all the yak? And now we have the yak. And people are like, oh, but separation.
Not that rack. I don't want that yak.
Yeah. Come on, man. Like a more healthy balance. You know what I mean? But it's definitely good. I'm feeling very confident about this team moving forward. We're 8-4. While Cincinnati ended up having a very good game against Baltimore, I still think that we match up against them very well. And I'm sure we'll get into that on our Thursday episode.
Yep.
But I mean, dude, like right now I'm sitting here looking at the landscape of the AFC, and I really think everything is still on the table. I really think everything is still on the table. It's hard for me to find a team in the AFC where I can genuinely say that fan base should feel entirely confident. So much parity is in this league right now. And I feel like Buffalo can really beat anybody, especially now that football weather's around the corner, or here, rather.
That's the pro of Joe Brady and what Sean McDermott was trying to build, not somebody who's good in September and October, like those Dorothy offenses that even confused me. Like sometimes I'm pulling the data, I'm sitting in November, kind of similar, maybe a little bit earlier in the season. I'm pulling data and I'm like, it looks pretty good. Like there's really not a ton to hate here. But then like you would have moments when that offense, and I guess you could say the same of this one now, but it was just a huge liability in football games to the point where like you can't throw or run. That's the difference. You couldn't throw or run. That was a huge problem. At least now when the passing game struggles, you have the number one running game to lean on. Sure, there are teams that are good against the run, but you're still going to take your odds strength on strength. That's the number one thing that I always talk about with the Houston game of like, why didn't we do XYZ and do something we don't normally do because they're good at something? Because it's also the Bills' strengths. They did not anticipate both of their tackles who have been healthy their entire careers. At least Dawkins, for the most part, has been healthy almost a missed game here and there. Brown had a little bit of injury issues early on in his career, but for the better part of 2 years, haven't missed a snap. Yeah. So realistically, you're saying our strengths are offensive line too. So we feel pretty good about actually having 5 weapons out to receive balls because everybody's already complaining about no one's open. So why would we have less people open? So the Bills were trying to go strength on strength. It didn't work after the injuries. But ultimately, what I always tell people, Dan, the difference between these two offensive coordinators, because everyone feels like it's the same thing, is the Bills have the number one rushing offense in the NFL. They did not have that underneath Ken Dorsey. So they can run the same 4 plays super successfully with a super strong offensive line to lean on late in seasons. Yeah. And this is the month Joe Brady's going to make his coin. Is he going to be an NFL head coach? Is he going to just stay around in Buffalo, or is he going to get fired? That's what December is on the line for Joe Brady.
And so even if he doesn't deserve to be fired, you would have to think that if the season does go in the wrong direction, he's your number one scapegoat. And people are going to be running around like victory laps, for example, because like
then he's a martyr though, Dan. Then Joe Brady's a martyr because everyone will be like, it's Brandon Beane's fault, not Joe Brady's. They'll change their tune in January if Joe Brady's a scapegoat. He goes as a martyr because he will become the most popular person here. Like Joe Brady had the number one. We'll hear these things then. He had the number one rushing offense with this and that. Yeah, he didn't get good receivers, but that wasn't his fault. That is how the narrative will change if he ends up being the scapegoat, which by all accounts, man, I just don't see him getting fired outside of something catastrophic happening in December and missing the playoffs or something. Losing 4 out of 5 games here or something.
So like 9 to 10 points just generated by the offense and like maybe like a defensive touchdown.
Missing the playoffs. 9 and 8. Getting embarrassed down the stretch. That sure absolutely could get anybody fired. Really. Mm-hmm. Outside of that type of fall, I unfortunately think he could return. And I'm not saying that's my opinion. I love it, but it's just the number one offense. They think this is going to carry. If people shut down the rushing offense late in this year, that will be his biggest negative, not the passing offense. If people shut down the rushing offense here from Cincinnati on through, Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland's a good defense, but Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Philly, into the Jets and into the playoffs. If they're able to shut down this rushing offense, that's when Joe Brady's going to have some questions to answer in his post-season interviews. That's the most. But here's the final point. He's still top 3 in head coaching jobs. There's going to be like 6 or 7 of them open. He's top 3 to 5 on every single list. He did 4 interviews last year and declined the Jets. it's not just about having the number one passing offense is not what gets you head coaching gigs. So
No.
we'll see how this all plays out in January.
Yeah, we certainly will. And going back into the whole, like, why do we always run the football on first down? Because we're fucking good at it. We're good at it, man. We're good at it. When we're getting 6 yards of carry on first down, I hope. What do you want, folks? And so for Josh Allen to drop back on first down and throw to wide receivers that apparently don't get separation, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want, man? Stick to what the Buffalo Bills do good. We're the best run offense in the league.
That's what they want, like the 20-yard flash play, I guess.
Oh, my God. Folks, anyway, we need to go on ahead. We need to give a giant shout out to our good friends over on Picasso's Pizza, the #1 pizza in Western New York, 4 great locations in the Western New York area. Now, get this. They are delivering nationwide. You simply go to their website, picassospizza.net, and hit this nationwide button, and you can deliver this wherever you are within the continental United States. It's great for Christmas gifts as it is around the corner. Do not miss out on this opportunity of having a taste from home if you are displaced from the Western New York area. All right, so I kind of want to take a look at this Bills schedule, and I feel like we have this conversation quite a bit on the show.
Sure.
And we kind of change our take on how we think that the season is going to end up. But I think that we started getting some answers from other teams. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles lose this week right against the Chicago Bears, the Ben Johnson. They have been very anemic. I would say that if you are critical of the Buffalo Bills offense, you should probably be just as critical of the Philadelphia Eagles offense, maybe even more so if you were to ask me. Have the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow back. You have New England in New England, the Cleveland Browns in that defense, and last but not least, the Jets. But Kev, I'm not sure about you. Oh my God, do I want to go the homer pick right now? I don't think we lose another game, Kev.
They're favored in every game remaining. So
I don't think we lose another game.
The Bills have lost one game in the last, whatever it is, 17 or 18 at home, whatever it is, since that the Brady or talking about Dorsey Brady swap, since that Denver game, which has been now 2 years ago to the date, almost, well, a little more than 2 years. They've lost one game at home to the Patriots. So am I going to predict they double that? No, I'm going to predict they win the home games. That's where I'm going to stand on it. And you're looking at the road schedule and you're talking about, well, the Browns, okay, they're not losing that. So I guess they could go to New England and lose, Dan. I guess. I just don't think they get swept by anybody in this division ever while Josh Allen's the quarterback, no matter what team it is. They'll drop one. It's happened. They're never going to drop 2 games. And I really, in every single time a division game, he's proven that. So winning out is not crazy. And people are, so for some reason, everyone's arguing this Bengal game's the hardest one.
And the 4-8 Bengals.
4-8
Bengals. They have a piss poor defense. And okay, one thing I will give the Bengals is that they have looked at least a little better defensively. Maybe it's masked from some of the turnovers that they have been generating for the past couple of weeks. Still think that they can get got. Stop sleeping on the Buffalo Bills secondary. We are very good. Okay. I'm not sure if you guys are, like throwing respect toward Chase Brown. Like, yeah, he's good, but as long as we end up making these adjustments, I think Buffalo is going to be fine. I mean, dude, listen, I'm just going to go out and say it. I don't think that Buffalo loses another game. I think 13-4 is where we sit. But here's the question. Is that good enough for the AFC East in your eyes? This Patriots team tonight, and they have the Giants.
Let's get into it.
And they have the Giants, right? Followed by us after a bye. Okay, so they will have the rest advantage. You pointed that out on Twitter earlier, which is a stat that really upset me, but it's true. And then followed by that, they have the Baltimore Ravens, followed by wrapping up the season with 2 divisional games. Maybe the Miami Dolphins are playing for something. Who knows?
We want to be playing for something.
I mean, maybe Mike McDaniel goes out there, like pulling out all the stops. I don't know. But has your confidence level shifted at all from this Buffalo Bills squad and potentially repeating 2023 and taking the division at the last minute?
Yeah. Brady 9-1. They've done this many years before. Like maybe not last year was their best, like in the league. There's no one real competition last year. So I think we got a little bit, used to that. But every other year they fought for something. They even down to the last week in pretty much every other season. To multiple kick return touchdowns we needed in one game after the DeMar injury, to like we've needed to win these games in almost every season but last year. And then we go into last year, not really needing to play for much. That was super weird. Like that, because we didn't really have a shot at the one. We were just kind of hovering in two like all season. Like there was just really nothing to play for. I think it led for sloppiness in the playoffs. The Denver game was good. I mean, the defense showed up, and basically the defense to me showed up in the playoffs last year. It really did. It didn't have a great first half against the Chiefs, against Mahomes, the best to ever do it. But other than that, they had a really good playoffs last year, in my opinion. The way what they were able to do to the Ravens. But anyways, if you look at what's remaining here for the Patriots, let me talk about something. If they lose to the Giants, that obviously helps the Bills. However, let me be clear on something. If they lose to the Giants, this is something that I don't think anybody's talking about on any content channel. It helps you by virtue of the record, but it really almost locks in the Patriots in the tiebreaker. Let me explain why. Because common opponents are the number one tiebreaker after division record. Number one tiebreaker, not AFC record. The Giants are not a common game with the Bills, meaning if they lose that, they get rewarded. The 3 games, they've already lost one against the Raiders. So that was also a non-common game with the Bills. There's 3 teams they play that we don't. The Raiders, they play the Giants, as we see on the screen, and then they already beat the Titans. So those 3 games are the ones that the league takes out in a tiebreaker scenario because they're not the same as the Bills' schedule. The Bills now have the Eagles, the Chiefs, and they lost to the Texans. So if the Bills go and win out at 2-1 in those uncommon games, New England will be 1-2. They'll have the tiebreaker over the Bills. They also already have it on division record in the first place. So you need them to, if they lose against the Giants, you need them to lose 3 games. 3 games remaining, most likely the next 3. However, they only need to lose 2 games if one of them is the Jets or the Dolphins. So
one of them. Oh, okay.
So 2 games with one of them being the Bills and the other being the Jets or Dolphins. Super easy path. Or you need them to lose to the Giants, the Bills, and then any of the remaining 3.
And then any of the remaining 3. I get where you're coming from, but I'm not sure.
The Bills will relinquish. They'll relinquish the tiebreaker in a lot of situations if they lose to the Giants tonight.
If they lose to the Giants tonight,
it's going to go over people's head, but this is what I do. Tiebreakers are my thing. They'll lose the tiebreaker unless it's still 3 games though. Unless they lose to the Jets and Patriots, the Bills would then relinquish to take over the tiebreaker because they have a better division record. Or excuse me, the Jets and Dolphins. If they lose the last 2 games, but that's still 3 total games.
Got it. So basically what you're saying is that you are in an ideal world for tiebreaker purposes, hoping that the Patriots beat this Giants team today.
I mean, how about this? I still want the Patriots to lose, right? So,
of course, yeah.
But I guess more what I'm saying is it's super neutral because you still need them to lose 2 more games. You need them to lose 2 more games, one of them being the Bills, obviously. You still need them to lose the 3rd game, either against the Ravens, the Jets, or the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like a pass game in a way, or what it would allow you to do is lose to the Eagles. So if the Patriots do lose tonight, you can lose to the Eagles. It kind of washes out. You still need them to lose 2 additional games anyways. You still need the Patriots to lose 2 more games after the Giants game if they lose.
Okay. So in a world where Buffalo wins out, all right?
Yep.
And then, so the Patriots end up losing to the Bills and the Ravens. They win the rest of their games. They still get the division, right? Because they have a better divisional record than us.
Yep.
However, if we finish with the exact same record and their losses are against the Bills
and the Dolphins,
and say the Dolphins pull off a miracle.
Week 18, wow. Yeah.
or week 8 or
that would be enough.
The Jets, then that would be enough to propel us up as well.
Yeah, correct.
Got it.
We would go on AFC record at that point. Yep. So then we'd have the same common opponents. We'd have the same division record. Now is the usual AFC tiebreaker that everyone's familiar with. Now that takes into effect. If that's the same, you go into strength of victory, which the Bills have strength of victory and strength of schedule over the Patriots. They'll have the AFC record over the Patriots in a tie-breaking scenario. So they'll have all those fringe tiebreakers over the Patriots. The one they don't have right now is division record. So we need them to lose the most important one. And if they don't, we have to just have a straight up better record. So if you think they're going to beat both the Dolphins and the Jets, which is a reasonable thought, then you need them to lose the next 3 games. That's the only path to the division that you have. You need them to lose the Giants, Bills, Ravens, because you're factoring them winning those 2 games, thus earning the tiebreaker officially. If they win 17 and 18, they'd have the tiebreaker officially. So you need to gain 3 losses from them.
We shall see. Now, looking at this playoff picture, all right, a couple of questions that are really sticking out to me. Are the Kansas City Chiefs done? They're 6-6 right now. I believe they play Houston.
They have a playoff game this weekend, 100%.
And they have a playoff game this weekend. So,
yep.
And so against Houston at this point. Say that they lose that one, would you just mark them up and they're done?
They're done. Yep. They would now have they would not have the tiebreaker in any of those teams. They've already lost to the Broncos, Chargers, Bills, Texans. They're out. Jags.
And the dude. Poor Kansas City Chiefs, man.
Yep. They're out if they lose. However, it's helpful if they beat the Texans. That gives the Bills more breathing room. So you got to see how you look at it. Like, is the ultimate goal to keep the Chiefs out of the playoffs? It is. You're rooting for the Texans. If the ultimate goal is to make sure the Bills are as comfortable as possible, you're rooting for the Chiefs in that one game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You got to pick what you're rooting for.
So if there's a world, right? Because typically when it comes into playoff time, we always like to conspire, right? Like, what would be the ideal path for the Bills? And we always try to decipher it. Just be like, oh, I don't want to play this team in this situation. What teams genuinely do you not like as a potential playoff matchup for the Buffalo Bills, home or away? Going into it this year so far, I'm having a hard time finding a team.
I'm fine with any. So
really,
Texans on the road again, just because we can't win there. But Texans at home, they're awful outdoors. They're awful team outdoors. They're straight up a different team.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily on the road. I said outdoors. So they're straight up. They went into Indy and won indoors. Same dome as theirs. Mm-hmm. They're an awful team outside.
Mm-hmm. I'm not particularly bought in on the Indianapolis Colts either. I'm not even confident right now that I think that they can find their way right into the playoffs.
Who?
And so I can see a world where they're out within the next couple of weeks.
Who?
The Colts.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Colts being out, then who you pushing in, the Texans or are you pushing in the Chiefs?
Yeah. Yeah, I think Houston would probably end up coming in. And then maybe Jacksonville, maybe they ultimately end up winning their division, right? Just going on ahead and helping out with that.
We really want the 6th seed then. If we can't win the division, obviously. We want the 6th. We'll take that nice weather matchup against Jacksonville in a basically home environment.
6th seed would be fine. I'm not particularly scared of the Denver Broncos.
If you win,
Yeah. I'm not scared of the Jags. I don't even know what team from the AFC North is going to win their division. I think that there's a world where the team that wins it's 8-9. And based off of how that division is really ultimately ended up playing. But I don't know, man.
The Bills have a say in this, right? If they bury the Bengals, I don't think at 8-9, the Bengals, would need to win out and have a ton of help.
Yeah.
So I think the Bills can have some position in this. I really still think the winner of the Ravens-Pittsburgh probably wins that division this weekend. Ravens. They're going to get to 7 wins. If the Bills do win, that team's 3 games behind in the AFC North.
Mm-hmm.
If the Steelers win, how about this? If the Steelers win against the Ravens this weekend, that's too challenging for the Bengals because the only team that they're going to be able to beat the Ravens again, then they split with the Steelers. So they're going to earn the tiebreaker on the Ravens, in my opinion. If the Ravens lose to the Steelers, I think the Steelers are going to be well enough ahead from them and also 3-1 in the division at that point.
Yeah. Well, folks, a lot to chop up right over here on the Bills Roundtable. Have no fear, Z-Bot will be back on Thursday. Hopefully, Jake. I don't think the Bills. Oh, great. They are home on Sundays. So we know Jake's not going to be traveling. We will have Jake back on Thursday. And we might be putting in some extra episodes this week as well, of course, depending on schedules. So make sure, guys, that you subscribe and you turn on bell notifications so you don't miss an impromptu episode over here on the Bills Roundtable, because things are looking up. It's December football. We were built for this. All right. And let's cap off this season with a 13-4 record. I love that. Give me 13-4. All right. And let's calm all the naysayers on the internet. And let's get it going. Kev, what do you got to say to the audience right before we set them off?
Look, it's like slightly a tick down offensively from where we normally are. Other than that, like, it's the same stretch that they always play. Like, I wish they were 9-3. They probably should be at least 9-3 if they just win that Patriots home game. This is a totally different feel around here, even still with that Dolphins loss and the Texans loss.
Yeah.
Like, ultimately, you probably needed to win either the Patriots or the Dolphins game. Like, you needed to win either or. Mm-hmm. And that's really like, yeah, we go to Houston and lose like every year. Like, seriously. Like, so that happened for some reason. We just don't play well down there. Other than that, Dan, like, it's the same 8.2 wins per time at this time of the year through 12 games. The Bills are at 8. So
yeah,
wish they were 9-3 too, or I wish the Patriots were way out of it. That's usually what we're used to, having some buffer. But I think we're going to get the best version of this team going down the stretch. Like, I really do. I really want to take it. If we can't beat the Bengals, the Patriots, the Eagles, the Browns, and the Jets down the stretch, some people might say you can't go 2-3 there anyways. So I'd like to see him go 4-1 and go in on a pretty high note, if not 5-0.
Damn, dude. 5-0. We've done it before. We've
won 6 straight games before, for sure.
We've won 6 straight games before. I think we can get it done. But folks, we appreciate you for tapping in with us. A giant shout out to Picasso's Pizza for being a proud partner of today's show. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.